First of all, I applaud all of you for coming in here when there is already beer and wine sitting at the table outside. 2, if there had been bottles like last year, I was going to grab a tub and bring it with. But there weren't any tubs. That's all a keg now. So I didn't bring any beer with me. You're all like, really, Paul? You suck. I really can't figure out how to make this thing just pop up there like it's supposed to. I'm about to not care if you don't mind. Say that again? Oh. Let's see. Look at that. You're my hero. All right, so what do you want to know? You get to ask the first question. You're just going to observe? Look at this. Everybody's got the late arrival thing going on. That's pretty cool. I was worried that nobody was going to show up, for the record. No, really, I was. Go grab some seats over here. Don't just, really, go. All right, so I have like very little agenda, any more than I posted online, right? I've got a few things I want to talk about. I want to talk about whatever you want to talk about, seriously. A real just quick thing about me, I've been recruiting IT folks for 17 years. The last 2.5, primarily just IT startups, small tech companies in town. So for those of you who have like some sort of ill feeling towards contingent search firm recruiters, I am no longer really one of those, so you can still like me, okay? That was the awkward laughter I was looking for. I've been writing a blog for 10 years or so, kind of on and off, not always smart stuff, but I post stuff. Back in 2007, I held a series of recruiter events, and the first one I ever held, or the first 5 I held, was actually here at Best Buy, so it's a lot like coming home whenever I come here. For those of you who know any recruiters, or the ones that you like by chance, I'm going to do a recruiting boot camp in July near the end. The goal is to teach a bunch of recruiters how to stop doing it so poorly. So if you have received an in-mail from someone, there's someone in town who has been recruiting saying that they're looking for unicorns as their subject line on their email. Look at me. Your face is precious. Yeah, like who the hell would do that, right? But there is a recruiter in town saying that they're looking for unicorns. And apparently you all are unicorns to them. I want to teach them how that might be not such a great way to do things. What's that? No ninjas, gurus. If you're one of those, leave now. Although we did that 2 years ago, right? Someone said, but a ninja could be sitting right next to you, Paul, about to kill you, and you wouldn't know it. I'm like, oh, yeah, that would suck. I'm, like right there. Oh, hey. One real quick plug, if I may. For those of you who were at mini demo, whatever the one number was back in February, I'm an advisor to these folks. What we are trying to do is to make it so that you can, so like LinkedIn is for recruiters to find you. We're trying to create toggle greens so that you guys can kind of better manage your interaction with recruiter and HR folks. So particularly if you're a consultant or a contractor, I would suggest sign up. That's the long URL. I'll leave it up there later on. Type in minibar 10. The alpha is being released kind of right now because of today, which means it's really kind of a rough site, which I probably shouldn't be saying on camera right now because it'll be online, right, in a few weeks. But the idea is that you can sign up. This is who you are. This is what you do. And then it's green, yellow, red, just like a stoplight. Green, I'm available. Yellow, I'm not. Or yellow, I'm going to be. And red, I'm not. So when the recruiters like me are pestering the crap out of you, you can go, suck it, go to the site, and then you'll know when I'm available. That's kind of our theory, right? Make a site that's a little more IT creative friendly. And right now we're just doing it in Minneapolis. So if you sign up, type in minibar 10 for the password, then change your password to your own password by midnight because it might reset and then it won't even work for you. I sound really high maintenance, don't I? And you're like, yeah. All right, so that's my agenda for the conversation that I want to have. But I'd rather just start with any questions you all have. Career, job search related, asking for a raise. I get you may not want to ask because you're like in a room with a bunch of people you don't know. But who wants to know something? See? So the question being, again, it's do we specialize in something, be a master of none? I would suggest, for better and for worse, it seems that companies are, well, you've seen the job descriptions, right? Those 17 bullet point, really bad marketing pieces that they're putting out. It seems that companies want a little bit of everything. And I shouldn't joke about that, because when we get done with this, I'm going to put out, Zipnosis is looking for a full stack engineer. And so we're looking for a little bit of everything right now. Some companies have gone that way. I think particularly the startups are looking for someone who can do a little bit of everything and not necessarily be a Ruby developer, but someone who can be a full stack developer, do the front and the back end. We're still seeing the .NET. There are still chairs over here, guys. Huey, you missed my pitch. I already pitched Toggle Green, man. How was my pitch? Was it okay enough? I'm asking because he helped build it, so. Yeah. Right? So that passcode works until midnight tonight, and then they might be. So you might have to do tech support, but we don't have tech support either. So, well, yeah, we have Hugh. So just saying. So there was my. I pitched twice now. I'm going to answer your question maybe also in a slightly different way, if that's all right. So someone sent me an email this morning saying, hey, can you address this question, which is a little bit of yours. How do I make myself not outsourceable or offshoreable? My answer to that, first of all, is this, is if you're a tech person, make darn sure that you're learning the business side of things and can talk to someone like me, which is to say, I'm your end user. Yes, I know how to, repower things up, when you call a Comcast, pull the plug. Yeah, no shit. I'm just slightly more evolved than that, even after recruiting folks like you for 17 years. But if you're a developer, the old days of the Mountain Dew, the Domino's, right, that old strobe light over your head sitting in the corner of somebody's basement or a cube farm are so long gone, okay? I get that some of you may not want to deal with people, or anybody, right? The problem is, though, is that I can offshore that during a recession. Right? The last one taught us this. A lot of folks lost their jobs and had a hard time recovering afterwards because they couldn't do the business side of things. I would probably be more of a master of none now than specialize in just one certain thing, because that one certain thing is going to change in 2 or 3 years too. Tony, how would you answer the question? Yeah? So everybody get that? Don't put all your eggs in one basket, spread it out a little bit. Tony's a really solid senior Ruby developer in town and helped run the Ruby MN group for a number of years. So I figured if he agreed with me, I'm in good shape so far. My first question of the day. So who's got another one? You asked 2 questions. Kidding, I didn't mean it that way, the way it came out. I say it because I wrote a blog post last week because there are about 3 or 4 college students in town right now who I know are really solid. They had, when I say they were an intern, they coded, they developed, right? They weren't just shuffling papers or getting coffee for the CTO, who are having a bear of a time finding a job in town. And part of it is because you're being videoed, just be careful. There are a lot of employers in town, right, who are still looking for, I always say, are they looking for Superman, Clark Kent, or Jimmy Olsen? So don't be offended if you happen to fall in the Jimmy Olsen category, right? But it is that idea of everybody still wants Superman or Wonder Woman to walk through their door. And they will wait months for Superman or Wonder Woman to walk through the door. I think that's silly. Part of our problem in our town is that everybody wants a 3-year Ruby developer or a 5-year .NET person. But if we don't give them, the college grads, their first jobs, they're never going to be a 3-year Ruby developer or a 5-year .NET person because they're going to leave the industry. That's our conflict right now. The one thing I would suggest for the college students or the under 25 crowd, you have to network. I don't care if you like it or not. Oh, wait, by the way, who's in the room who doesn't know somebody? If you would know anybody still today, raise your hand, and don't be shy about it. No, keep your hand up. I'm not joking. Can you guys introduce yourself to him real quick, and then you for her, and so on? Seriously. Say hi. My name is? Pardon the interruption. But it just dawned on me, though, that I kind of was hoping we would have done this earlier today because I wanted to start the day this way. Because if you can't come to minibar and make at least 1 or 2 friends, you may have absolutely no social skill, or you're an idiot because if you can't come here and make friends, you can't go anywhere and make friends today, right? So no disrespect that you hadn't met anybody yet, right? But it's the networking piece matters. So primarily with the startups, it's interesting to me that most of the candidates that we're finding for our jobs are not because I'm a superstar recruiter. I mean, I'm okay. It's that the CEO or the CTO haven't actually tapped their network yet, and now we are, so they are finding their friends of their friends. So our network matters, regardless of age, of course, right? But for college students particularly, I'd be busting my ass. Like, no joke. I would be going through, if you attended sessions today that you thought were, is it still working? That's too bad. I would go back and send an email to the people whose sessions you attended today, say, hi, my name is, thanks for the session. I am going to be graduating at such and such a time. By the way, I would do that also if I was like me in my mid-40s and I have a job and I'm happy. I would still want to network with the people who were giving the presentations today. So often we only try to do our networking stuff when we don't have a job. Like, stop doing that. Like, if the recession didn't teach us that, if Target's layoff the last 4 months haven't taught us that, then I don't know how else to say it to you, right? Don't stop networking. Don't stop attending events. Don't stop going to user group meetings. Go to the next mini demo whenever it is. I went in the wrong direction. Thank you. No, it was, I could have got. I think in the Midwest, we still want people with 4-year degrees. I think on the coast, it's really loosened up. So then it's how long and how fast until the trend gets here, right? So it's kind of like music, fashion, like, you know, whatever is cool in culture today. We're seeing, I still see most job descriptions are requiring a degree. And so then you have to have a conversation with the hiring manager and say, okay, but really? The person's been doing this for 7 years. Do you really care anymore? The Code School Bootcamp, there is some good news. I talked to Jason DeBoer Moran, who's at Concordia. They just finished their first, what the heck are they calling it, a cohort. Had 11 students go through. All 11 got job offers as entry-level developers. So that's really cool news. Plus, I think this was a .NET class. The next one's going to be .NET and then a separate Java class, too. So maybe my skepticism or my negative clearly tone, maybe it's not. Maybe there is more leniency now, right?
Do they still have a preference for that computer science, MIS degree? Are companies more willing to look at that person that does have the coding experience? They may have the degree, say.
I was a CLA guy in political science at the U. So the question being is, does it still have to be an MIS or computer science degree versus like a liberal arts guy like me? I'm still going to lean at that, yeah, it seems to be. Here's the deal. So we have this, what we've been calling the war for talent again. I hate the phrase, but that's what my recruiter and HR industry calls it. We've been at it now since March 2010. The market came off the bottom in Minneapolis. It's been a series of, say, steps and plateaus, or you get what I mean, right? It's the end of the day. I should have brought that beer with me. The market's only getting tighter. We're only hearing companies complain more that they can't find who they want, and then they still keep looking for who they want, like Superman and Wonder Woman to walk through the door. So the way I always say is that if you aren't that if you're not that job description that they're looking for, you're going to have to explain why you're not and what the value you do bring now. So I think that someone like me who has a CLA degree and actually likes people, if I had coding skill, would be of value even though I don't have an MIS degree. But some stodgy CTO at a really large company in town might disagree with me, right? I need to have a little conversation with them. Even though you're in demand, I would still be selling myself, right? You might be getting a bunch of phone calls or email from someone like me, but I would still be wanting to sell myself because I'm going to look for a little more money, which I think you all should be asking for, frankly. I had part of my presentation last year was I had $5 an hour, $5 an hour. If you're a contractor or consultant, I would start Monday asking for $5 more an hour, just cause. Like, when was the last time some of you guys increased your rates? Right? I would go back, I would make sure my LinkedIn profile is all decked out, my website looks great, and just on that merit alone, I bet you you're going to get $5 more an hour. Times however many hours you're billing a year. Last year, I think I said, so now you can take like the in-laws and your kids to Disney World. And someone's like, why the hell would I bring my in-laws with? No, you've done this before. You brought the in-laws to babysit the kids, didn't you? Like, she's like, yes, well, of course I did. So I think that folks should be negotiating more than they are when it comes time for an offer. Don't be greedy, don't be a jerk, right? I'm making this up, if somebody offers you 85 grand, ask for 88, just cause. But then, like, don't ask for more than that. Or if they give you an offer and they can't move on price, but can they send you to a conference? Can you do 4 10-hour days in the summer? Summer to me, Christian and I were talking earlier, like, summer is life to me, right? I spent a third of last summer up in Alexandria on a lake, just cause. Well, because that previous polar vortex thing we went through. Can you have some work-life balance? Can you work from home a day or two a week? Like, maybe you can't get the number you want, but negotiate something else instead. Or since you are going to be working from home, how about they pick up your internet? Like, just stuff that might make it a little bit easier, save a few $100 a year, $1,000 a year if you can't get your increase in pay. Okay? Ask is what I'm trying to get you to do, though. Like, ask. Don't be a jerk, don't be greedy, and don't ask a second time for something else, though. Right? Like, so if you're interviewing with me and we give you an offer and you're like, well, what about this? And I go, okay, we can do that. Then don't come at me again, though. Now you're a greedy jerk. Right? I mean, this isn't about negotiating in power and how much can I squeeze out of somebody. Tony? Certificates? And that is a part of it too. I mean, if you've got a GitHub account and our CTOs can look at them, I would take that over a resume any day, at least for the initial conversation, right? At some point, we're going to need a resume. Remember LinkedIn said years ago they were going to make it so you would never need one again? They were full of crap. That was all hype. You still need a resume. But like, yeah, I want sample of code. What did you build? What did you create? Tell me about how it worked, how more efficient, how you saved the company some money. Like, why you? You're in demand, but I still want you to sell yourself. If anything more, so that you can make a little more money. I mean, we are in this country, and it is kind of, a capitalist thing, so ask for it. So you've done the job, you can do it, but you don't have the 5 years that they want. Here's who I am, this is what I do, and this is how I can benefit you. And it might be, again, like, what are your business results? So like, someone said to me the other day, seriously, like I zoned out during the phone call. You'll be able to tell this in a minute. They had built some code, made the server time this much faster, saved that many dollars. Like, it was just a really simple sort of conversation they were having with me. I'm like, how much did you save? It was about $300,000 a year. Yeah, we should talk about that, right? Because you're worth it now. I mean, if you're getting offered, I'm making it up. You want 80 grand, they're giving you 75, and you can say, but I just saved my previous company 300 grand a year. Yeah, I think you've got some negotiating power, right? Like, what have your accomplishments done? How has it helped the business? Should always be a part of a conversation. Talk a little bit about the local job market right now. A lot of those conversations today. Since November 1st, or December 1st, pardon me, there's been a weird churn going on in the local IT job economy, which is to say, you left a job because the grass was greener over there, and you took his job, and you took his job, and you took his. Like, it's like we spoke about it last night at the happy hour. If I could put like a big whiteboard or pincushion thing up here and track who went where, for why, what teams are struggling for what reasons, I could retire in 2 years. If I could map out what's going on in the last 5 months. So there's a lot of churn going on. Some of that's good, some of it's bad. By the way, the grass is not greener on the other side most of the time. Right? Because you left your crappy job, and took his crappy job, now you took his crappy job. Right? So you just knew you were taking a crappy job, but it was better than maybe than the other one. Sometimes the grass just isn't greener on the other side. which is weird for a recruiter to say, right? My goal is for all of you to change jobs in the next 30 days. No, I'm kidding. But don't. I mean, ask questions. Like, what's it like to work there? Like, you know, the number of times I have candidates come in who don't ask questions about what it's like to work here, what's our CTO like, what are the developers like? Clearly you care. And if you don't, you should, right? Start asking some more questions. Ask to see code. Yeah, ask to see their code. If I'm going to give you a code test, don't you want, like, that was going to sound weird. I was going to say, show me mine, I'll show you, know, that was going to be weird on camera. But yeah, like, ask about how are things being really done. Ask the coders what it's like, ask the developers in the interview what it's like to work there, and then ask the CEO if you get, depending on company, right? I work with startups, small tech companies. Or ask the VP or ask the manager, so what do you think that your developers said was the cool parts, the bad parts about working here? And I will tell you the answers are almost always drastically different. You know, a manager might say, oh, it's, I'm guessing the developers are overworked, they're probably spending a little more time here than they wish they did. The developers are saying our managers are jerks. You just found more competitive intelligence in 3.5 minutes than you ever would have had about, do I really want to work here or not? Right? Like, start asking questions. Be a little more involved. Take control of your career. The startup's more risky than large employers one. What? Thomson Reuters, General Mills, Cargill, Target twice. I don't want to say Best Buy if it's not true because then we're here. Who all did layoffs in 2014. And you're in, who's that? I heard someone else, what'd you say? Oh, yeah. Point being, right, you're in demand and still some of you are getting laid off. I know how much revenue my companies have, the startups have. I know the revenue, the burn rate, how much is the funding, and sometimes how much is in the bank. So, like, I know that you're good for the next 15 months. And are you still going to be good for 15 months at fill-in-the-blank employer? So my argument back to folks who say startups are risky, every freaking job is risky now. It's kind of what I was saying earlier. You have to make it so that you're not outsourceable and offshoreable or replaceable or be able to be done without. I know I sound negative and really kind of sarcastic as I'm hearing myself say this, but like, you all got to play defense. I think every year I end up saying something like this. You fix the roof on the house when you need to. You get your oil change done when you need to. You will usually go to the doctor when you need to, except for the guys. We're a little slow with that, right? But you don't take care of your job, which is paying for all that stuff. I'm going to let that sit there for a minute. I mean, you've got to maintain this stuff.
What are tricks? I was playing with 3 or 4 different recruiters. What's the best way to do that?
John? Okay, the question being that she had been working with 3 or 4 different recruiters, and basically I think the question is how to best use us, right? Yeah. And that's a fair question to ask. I'll let John go because he's a colleague. He's not a friend, did you know? I said he's just a colleague.
I would specialize with 2. I wouldn't go with any more.
But why?
But for the first 5 to 6 months, 5 to 6 weeks, I would specialize with 2. Have to let, in a sense, nature take its course in what they're going to be doing. If you spread, so let's say you're a PHP or a .NET person, and you send your resume out to 8 different recruiters, they're going to be touching everything. It lowers your ability to negotiate, is my belief.
Or if John and I send your resume to the same company, they will now not talk to you for maybe 60 days to 6 months. Because they don't know which one of us is going to sue them for that fee or for that consulting opportunity. Yes, ma'am?
Actually, I'm going to connect to your question as well, which is when I talk to recruiters, I've been
Wait a minute. Horrifically disappointed with recruiters. Continue.
I represent that.
I'll give you an example so I can get to what I want. It's an answer for me is that, you know, I have tried several recruiters.
So part of the answer is going to be, whatever. Because now you realize all I can do is suck. So thank you for that. I would, for starters, I would spend as much time finding a recruiter as you do a doctor, an attorney, an accountant who's going to be teaching your kids in elementary school. But y'all don't, generally speaking. I'm going to sound really snotty when I say this. I would go, if a search firm called me, I would hop on LinkedIn, search for that search firm's recruiters, and see how much experience they have. The blessing and curse to our industry is there's no barrier to entry, which means some people can get in the industry like I did in 1997, who didn't know what they were doing, but at least liked people and wasn't ever going to mistreat them, and could figure out some of the technology stuff. Even after 17 years, I don't know what I should. I jokingly said it to Mark, the HomeSpotter CTO, the other day. I'm like, if I just highlight this page and hit backspace, what happens? He's like, get the fuck away from my computer. I mean, literally, just get away from me. Because he just knew I would just find some way to do something stupid. But I'm really, really good at the human side of this business. You need to find someone you can trust. I mean, you're going to tell them how much money you make, how much equity you maybe have in a startup somewhere else. You're going to talk about some really personal things. I want to trust that person, like, you know. So first of all, I'm going to ask my friends, have you ever bumped into a recruiter that doesn't suck? Yes, sir.
To expand on that, there's a certain firm in town that
We won't name.
there's a certain firm in town. A candidate of mine called me because I happen to be that firm said, hey, they specialize in blah 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 blah. And I said, well, have you looked at their personnel lately, who they have, what their background is? And he said, yeah, I didn't know that a Great Clips office manager knew anything about PHP. And I said, well, they may, but they may not. And then if you look down the list, somebody else ran a water park, somebody else was a swim instructor, and these are all senior recruiters on the perm side. I said, run and run fast. That's just kind of my point, is that there's a lot of firms in town. I think that if you are, especially in IT, if you really are looking to grow your career, you want to work with line singular recruiters versus big agencies. Really the bottom line of they're out for themselves and make as much money as possible. Whereas somebody like Paul, and I'm not buttering him up, is in this for the long haul and wants to have that ongoing relationship with both the company that he places you at as well as you. So maybe in 3 years he can work with you on your next position.
I feel really creeped out that you just buttered me up. Violated might be the better word.
It's all on camera too.
Yeah, great.
One of the things I've been doing the last 3 months is advertising for on LinkedIn. I put a statement out there saying, I'm looking for a recruiter that can talk to a nerd, can understand a nerd, and knows what a nerd does. Over the last 3-4 months, 3 recruiters got back. And they never got past the
Oh.
They had no idea what is important to a technician, you know, the things that I'm looking for. And so, like I said, I've been advertising now for 3-4 months, and nobody has come back to fill that position as a recruiter that can do that.
So part of it is to ask folks, whether it's on the consulting, contracting, or the full-time side. So I'm talking about like the search firm, consulting firm recruiters, not the internal corporate recruiter HR folks. Is what is your relationship with the client, right? So part of why I changed my model the way I did 2.5 years ago was I was tired of having to say I'm working with a startup in downtown Minneapolis who's looking for an iOS developer. Because now I can say I'm working with HomeSpotter, who is this, here's the link, here's what they're about, here's the tech.mn interview that they did, and we're looking for an iOS developer. Because now you all are just way more likely to get back to me because you realize that I have a relationship and probably I don't suck as a human, right? But this is the part about you protecting your career, your reputation, making sure that you don't get submitted to multiple places. don't want to go off on a tangent more than that because I could for like 20 minutes. But it's just maintain this stuff. Yes, ma'am. Yeah. I was on the dark side of the contingent recruiting world. Now it's if you apply to HomeSpotter, Aaron, the CEO, will send you an email saying, Paul, my recruiter is going to walk you through the process. I do that with 3 or 4 groups in town at a time. Usually without competing tech interests so that we don't normally have to be like, hey, and by the way, she's interviewing at both places today, which is weird. It's happened once, but yeah, so I am their internal IT recruiter. So I've kind of gone to the HR recruiter side, so to speak. It's kind of like it's kind of like being an attorney now. I don't worry about billable hours. It's just on a retained basis. Yes. Oh, I like this one. Can you tell he's leaning back?
Ready?
I'm ready. I'm one of those over 40 guys, by the way. Holy crap, I'm old. I was a freshman in college, dude. Do you know the creepy stuff that just went through my brain? Continue. Yep. Yeah.
Is it even worth my time to go into a contract monthly basis or 3-month period, 6-month period, whatever? Or am I going to be running around the circle worrying about if my job's going to be on the line 24/7? I have to worry about this contract being up and being able to sign another contract to continue work. Whereas in full-time, right as soon as I walk through that door, the application's submitted, I get the job offer, I sign that contract and that deal. My 90-day grace period is there, yes, but after that 90-day grace period, I don't have to really worry about too much as long as I, cross my X's, dot my I's.
Who's an unjaded IT consultant for more than a few years who wants to take a run? Go ahead. Can you hear him over there? Okay.
Yeah, I think the answer to both these questions can be yes. It depends on the person more than the second one. Is it worth your time? Potentially. Depending on what you want out of the job. If you want variety, you want more money potentially, then yes, it would be worth it. Are you going to worry about your next contract? Sure, in my case, but it depends on the person, how much you worry, how much you network.
Tony?
My own personal security, like the minimum sort of contract I would consider like a 3-month contract. I could, I could kind of settle into it for and a month and a half later,
Matt? Talk loud so they can hear you over there. Because you're not shy. Don't be shy now. I think part of it too is, so a lot of folks, and again this has been since December 1st, but even just since the economy recovered, right, a few years ago, a lot of full-time folks then went to the contract or consulting side just because there was more money there, which is really great until the next recession happens, by the way.
Right, the money's there. I mean, my only issue is that I don't really just feel comfortable signing contracts.
And I think that's the really important part. I've been contracting since 1997. And the reason I've been comfortable in it, my wife is a registered nurse. She gets all the benefits. She has a very stable job. And so what I do when I go out to work, I make a buttload of money while I'm working. I don't have to worry about security at all because she gets all the benefits. If all of a sudden she was to stop working, I would become an employee. Because all of a sudden I would need that security blanket that she's delivering to me right now. And I would say, I need a health plan. therefore I've been able to contract and pick and choose what I want.
And then we've had some contractors going full-time because they're tired of doing all the back office work, invoices, hours, billable, timesheets.
Percentage, would you say that contract is fine, or is it pretty hit or miss? Are they really, is it really, are you really just looking for, okay, I just need this work done within this 3 months, and that's it, or are you really just testing the waters and are seeing if I'm really up to this?
So let's do some terms. You've got contract, contract for hire, and full-time. So actually a number of the startups in town are doing contract for hire. That used to be a term tossed around in the mid-2000s on the employer side of things, where contract for hire was, we're going to bring you in, we're not actually ever going to hire you, but it just sounds really good because you might be interested in coming into our door. So part of it might be also to ask, if someone's pitching you a contract for hire position, I would ask them, what is your normal conversion rate to full-time hires? And if they can't answer or won't answer, they have that weird, awkward hesitation, you just got your answer, right? But like I said, there have been a lot of contractors who've been saying, like, look, I've been making a lot of money, but the idea of not having to do all the back office stuff, I don't want to sales, I don't want to do pipeline, I don't want to, like, they just don't, so that's cool. I think, look, this is a good time for you to explore, though. Yes, ma'am. It's okay. So the experience of working with people through the boot camp has only just been the last 6 weeks. Is the Fusion program, so they're in their first, what, with Metro State? Is it, I'm just looking over here just in general. I was trying to look out the window for the answer, by the way. So there's a couple of things that are going in town. What's the name of the nerderies, the spin-off? Anybody know the name? Prime Academy. Concordia has their program. There's also fusion programs through the MNSCU, Minnesota State College University System. I think they've got their first cohort right now at Metro State. They're all a little bit different, right? So the Metro State one is a 4-year degree. The other two, look, I've bumped into a number of folks who have come from the coding schools in Chicago and San Francisco who are really talented. And I've come across those who really suck. I mean, okay, that sounds really offensive. I didn't mean it the way it sounded, right? They don't suck. Their coding abilities may not be as great as maybe an employer would need. Okay, that's what I mean by suck. That was really rude. Like I told you, I was just going to talk to you today. I think that it comes down to, look, I think what I'm trying to say is I think most of these schools had better be doing a really good job at career placement opportunities. I would not want to be someone who graduates from a code academy or a code school or a boot camp, and they haven't helped with some career pathing along the way. That would freak a lot of stuff out of me. So the self-taught, I'm actually finding, again, maybe it's just trends and patterns, maybe it's just because it's who I know knows and they're referring people to me. The self-taught folks tend to be the best folks. Because you're eager, you want to, you're doing it on nights and weekends after your job. Well, I might be watching college football because that's my deal, or March Madness, or now the Minnesota Wild. If you follow me on Twitter, you will be spammed with because it's the cup hashtag for the next, hopefully, many months, or at least the next series, right? The self-taught folks just tend to have a motivation more than I would say that the recent college degree folks do. That's a stereotype. It won't fit for everybody, so don't be offended if I just pissed you off. It's still this part about, though, so if you are self-taught, though, a lot of times it seems like you're continuing to justify who you are, what you do, and why you don't have a degree. So just be ready for that. I think this is I still think this is a really, really good time to get into technology. I'm just always worried about the person getting their first job. After you have the first job, it's not so tough. Having that first job can be a bear for a lot of people, which is why I sound kind of negative as I'm listening to the tone of my voice. Yes, ma'am. hey, we'll do this while he's talking. So the PR marketing people call it a brag book, right? Here's what I've done. Here's how the logo went from this to that. Here's how Google Analytics went from this to that. I would be doing the same thing with the work that you're doing. You know, obviously don't violate any company policies. Don't steal, take anything. Consult an attorney before you do such a thing. There, so I can't get sued. That wasn't legal advice. But yeah, like, I want to make sure that even with my recruiting, I do screenshots of the client that first day I walk in. What's your Google Analytics on your career page? Because when I get done 3, 6, 9 months later, because it is my job to work myself out of a job, right after we've had success, I want that screenshot. Because then I'm showing that screenshot to my next client and going, okay, now you can pay a little more too. Right? I mean, I need to justify who I am, what I'm making, and for the way that I'm doing my work. I think everybody kind of has to do that, though. So I'm going to keep track of what I'm doing and what's going on. You first, sir.
Are there any special things that you have to keep in mind if you're, say, overeducated, like ABD, PhD, that sort of thing?
Man, I haven't bumped into that in a long time. Talk to me.
I went into one recruiter that said, you have to take it, I can't get you a job if you keep it empty.
So pause for a second. Search firm recruiter or an internal corporate recruiter HR person?
I can't.
Don't worry about it. He couldn't tell the difference. Again, more bad marketing.
Basically said, no, nobody's going to hire me with an MBA. That was the flat out statement. And my response was, hey, I worked too long to get off my resume.
Yeah, I'm a little skeptical, John.
Yeah, that's a huge red flag. I mean, I'm with a firm.
On the recruiter's behalf, not yours.
I'm at a firm now that shall remain nameless but was mentioned, and I'd be all over that. I'd be all over that, and I'd be spreading you all over in person. So, yeah.
First you buttered me up, and now you're, forget it. Did that help a little bit? Like I haven't, okay.
I worked at a large firm. I had multiple PhDs on my team. And we considered it a prize, not something to avoid. You still pay market rate for the talent that you bring, but it's certainly not an income.
Are there, like any tips for academics moving over, like from school career to switching career?
Are you doing the whole career path change?
Yeah.
Wow. That takes some brass ones. If you don't mind me saying it that way. Yeah. I might say the same thing for the 5th time now, but if you're doing a career change, you're coming into IT, yeah, learn as much as fast as you can, but you got to be able to show some work. Like, I don't see it. That's why I've said it 5 different ways now. People aren't doing it, right? So I received a resume from a St. Thomas grad on, well, whatever day this week, and had been a bartender server in college. I don't care because I was one in Planet Hollywood too, right? And I didn't have any internships experience, like they don't have any internship experience, but all I can see on that piece of paper is they got a 4-year degree. I can't do anything with that. Like I don't know who you are, what you do, what you're good at, and literally it was, hi, my name is, thanks for considering me. Attach the resume and hit send. I got nothing for you. I want to be rude about it, right? They could be very talented for all I know, but I'm at least going to get back to the other 6 people first. Yeah, it's just that justification thing. Here's who I am, this is what I do, this is why you want to hire me. But I give that same advice for everybody in every career path at any age with any experience, though, right? You got a question?
Back to the job market.
Yeah.
I was curious what you think about the job market in Minneapolis, if you're aware of it, versus the, say, Bay Area.
Yeah. So the Minneapolis versus the Bay Area. So I spend about at least 10% of most weeks recruiting in the Bay Area, on the phone, through Skype, trying to get folks to come to the Midwest, or North, as we may or may not want to be calling it, if you were with us this morning. I think the difference here is both with the IT, we'll call it community, and then with the employers, is that we're all looking for maybe longer lasting relationships. We tend to be thinking about engagements and like marriage type scenarios. And the Bay Area seems very much to be one night stand in this month. I really hope this video doesn't come through. Really. The market out there has hit a like almost a 1999, you know, it's like the whole Prince tune. I mean, it's almost back to the dot-com era hiring out there. So you can find a job. The difference is, here's my argument about going to the Bay Area, by the way. Remember, I'm a homer, okay? I'm pro-Minneapolis, anti-Bay Area. You can make really good money out there, but you better figure out that cost of living adjustment while you're at it. Because, you know, my loft in downtown costs what it does, and it's 3 times that for half the size in San Francisco. So you're making more money for a reason, though. It's because the cost of living adjustment out there is just so much higher. And get ready for your commute time, too. So to give you a scenario, we were talking to a VP of engineering. We were hiring for a VP of engineering. The guy's out in Seattle, really cool guy, and has his in-laws, has family in Plymouth and Eden Prairie. And he says to me in the following tone, "Hey, Paul, is it true it takes a half an hour to get from Eden Prairie to downtown Minneapolis during rush hour traffic?" I'm like, yeah, it sucks, doesn't it? Because that's really cool, because it's an hour and 10 minutes for my commute in Seattle every day. And in a matter of minutes, he had figured out how many hours in a year I would save him by coming to Minneapolis. And he's like, dude, that's awesome, 30 minutes? Snowstorm, it takes an hour? He goes, I've never gotten to work in an hour ever in the best of weather in Seattle. The difference, though, is that out there, they've got a lot of cool companies doing a lot of cool things, doing it right here and now. We might be a step or two behind them. I think that it's not just because I work with the startup groups in town, but I think we do have some really cool stuff going on in town. I just think our problem, going back to the conversation this morning, is that we're not promoting it well enough. So dig around a little bit. I would go through the tech.mn site. I would check out what Kathy Grayson has been focusing on in the Business Journal if you're looking for a startup type feel. I don't think the demand is any more or less. I don't think that the pay stuff is, when you adjust for things, is really much more or less. The cool thing about out there, though, is that the job hopping is much more accepted. You can be somewhere for 90 days and be somewhere for 90 days and be somewhere for 90 days in a full-time opportunity. And they'll look at you weird. Here, you're like, no. Like, how did you only work at this place for 3 months and that place? Because now you have an issue. So there's a bit of a difference in the culture. Does that answer the question? Yes. Oh, hold on. Was that a long enough commercial? Yeah. So why this came up in my head, at Zipnosis we're looking for a QA engineer. One of our full-timers knows a guy, right? It's always how it goes. Somebody knows a guy who knows somebody. And turns out that they do QA work by the hour and they can do it within 24 hours at this rate. And I'm like, whoa. And I said, well, how did you meet all these guys? He goes, people I used to work with. We all decided we want to do some nights and weekends work together. So we used to work together, now they don't. But they've got this thing where they've been networking with folks at tech events going, hey, and we're looking for 2 JavaScript folks. And we need a Ruby developer. And we need a DevOps person. Because they just keep asking. They have a network of about 12 to 14 now, independent contractors who are all kind of having this loose confederation. They're sharing business. They are helping each other get work. I would, I mean, quite frankly, I would probably start in this room. Like, go talk to Tony afterwards. You get me a really nice Ruby developer. I mean, you're okay. Sometimes. The other thing that I'm going to do is I am going to hop on LinkedIn and do some searches for where I went to school. You know, so if I went to Augsburg or St. Thomas or the U of M, who graduated around my time, where are they working at? I'm just going to send them an email. Hey, by the way, my name is, I'm trying to create a loose confederation of consultants. It's just that, again, we never ask these questions, which I'm talking like I'm orchestrating again. This is when you can tell I get frustrated. We don't ask the questions. I also would go to user group meetings and just say, at the beginning of the event, when the person, like, if you're at If you're at the Ruby event, Casey says, hey, does anybody have any announcements? Yeah, my name is and I am looking for some friends to share some business with. I haven't heard anybody do that at a user group event in at least 2 years, I suppose, by now. Like, just ask. Especially go ask after the third beer during happy hour. It'll be a whole lot easier to have those conversations. Yes?
So, I guess I've got cluster questions. I don't know how many questions to throw at you.
Throw them all.
Want to know how much, how you evaluate how much professionals work? I know obviously it's a remarkable pay, but basically I got to go on to salary.com, and then if you find that your current position is actually like how do you ask? Is it the sort of thing where it's like every couple of years you got to move to a different company to get market rate because you're worth more now?
I'm going to take the last one first because that's the easiest one. Average salary increase in Minnesota in 2015 will be around 1 to 3% internally, and around 5 to 10% if you go to a new job. Sad but true. I don't know why it is that we would rather pay someone more to come in when we could have just paid more to retain the person we just had. I don't get it, but that's what's going on. Figure out how much you're worth. Part of it is find people you don't work with that might be friendly to you and ask, which is weird and awkward, and I get it, but if you say, hey, by the way, I've got this many years of experience, I'm trying to figure out, like, what is the salary rate going on in town, I guarantee you the person you ask will be wondering the same thing, too. Like, some people might think it's a little bit of a forward question, you know? But, like, I would, like, if you're sitting next to somebody, like, get to know somebody a little bit before you just say, hey, by the way, how much do you make? I mean, that's how John, no, forget it. I was going to say that's how you pick up, but you've got a lady, so, you know. I was trying to get you back for the buttering thing. I'm really stuck on that, can you tell? Okay. And I am looking at the clock, by the way, and I will finish in like 2 minutes, because we're up right now. Do I have the time right? But if anybody wants to stick around, I'll stick around for as long as you want to. Or 7 o'clock, whichever happens first. Salary.com has okay stuff. If you see any national surveys like Robert Half, I'm actually doing one, well, maybe this weekend, just like what's going on in town, but it won't be very specific. We're a 5 to 7 year JavaScript person's making this. It'll be some trends. Robert Half, I'm saying something nice about Robert Half, for the record. They have a really good salary survey that they put out every spring or late winter, it's January, February or so. Whenever you see national surveys, again, though, they're going to probably be weighted a little bit by the coasts. So the salary, you might say, I'm making it up, it might say 100 grand and you're at 75. You could kind of maybe figure out that it could be 80, 85, 90 here, but it's not 100. And particularly, too, if you go to dice.com for some of those, because they have very, very weak Midwest data, particularly from Minnesota. They've got some good stuff for Chicago, but not so, because a lot of us don't actually get back to their surveys, so their sample's so small. Robert Half has a good one. I think Modus has one that's been out. Deco. Computer World has one, or whichever one of the national kind of like trade publications has one. I'm skipping your second question, though. What was that one? Do you remember?
How do you ask for a raise?
Oh, how do you ask for a raise? So first of all, I'm going to keep tracking it. I'm going to be keeping track of that brag book through my year, right? I've done these things. This is what's going on. Here's how I've been of some value to you. Second of all is I'm going to, this is forward, and this might be awkward, but I'm going to ask a manager, just like, what is the average increase in our group this year? So you're not asking how much did everybody else get or how much did Sue or Timmy get, but I'm going to ask the question of, like, so ballpark it. The other thing is I'm going to shoot for 5%. That's just a number that's always in my head, whether it's $5 an hour or 5%. You might get 2 or 3. Again, it's the 1 to 3 being the number. But if I'm going to ask for 5, I might get 3, because if I had said for 3, I might get 1, or 5 to 10 because I just left. I think part of it too is actually having good relationships with your managers and your directors. We always forget that part. They're the ones who are controlling your income and your mortgage. I'm going to be very polite with them, particularly the 30 days leading up to my annual review. Right? Yes? Yeah, Glassdoor's got good information. Again, though, I don't trust the company reviews, because a lot of times companies are asking their employees to go in and actually post really positive reviews. What was that? Oh, you still have a question, though. But the salary stuff tends to be really close, because, again, employees are actually saying what's going on. Absolutely. If you're not looking for a job, I always want to talk to you because it's always, okay, this one will be funny. It's always easy to find a job when you have a job, buy a house when you have a house, have a boyfriend or girlfriend when you got a boyfriend or girlfriend, right? It's just easier. I want to develop, any decent recruiter is going to want to create relationships, and so will you also want one with someone like John who you talk to 3 times a year? Absolutely. Because part of it too is you need to know what's going on next. Oh, career path. Did that kind of answer that one well enough? Because this one's bothering me. If you're trying to figure out what you should be learning in your next, like what your career path or technology skill set should be, look at your company's own job descriptions. Right? They're posting what they want their next employees to have. If you don't have that, you might want to go get it. In the sense of playing a little defense, right? If they're looking for someone who's now doing stuff in closure and you don't have it, I'd go pick it up. Because odds are that that's where your company's going with some things. You've got a smirk on your face. Yeah. No. He's got one too, but I could see his smirk. What do you do for an employee? If your company doesn't give raises, do they do anything? Okay, this is all a hypothetical. Okay? You know a guy who knows a guy because you're asking for a friend. If the company's benefits are average or if they're not great, if work-life balance is out of whack, you already know my answer. Get out. Like I'm sorry, I won't even think twice about it. Maybe you need to remind your manager or director, by the way, it's been 18 months since I last had a raise. That's fair to do. But if the response is we're not giving any raises this year, and you like your job, stick around for a while. And if you still don't get a raise, then I'd start looking because I have a job and I've made friends with 2 or 3 recruiters who are telling me here's what the market is for you. So here's what we'll do. If you got to go, I'm going to skip you, John. I mean, you can stick around. You can butter some more if you want to. If you all want to take off, go get beer or wine. I strongly would suggest doing that. I will stick around and take off the microphone, though. So if you guys have any questions, thoughts, whatever. Wait, hold on. Do me a favor. Do you have a phone on you? Can you take a photo? Like I'm going to pretend I'm saying something really smart to Matt. Hey, how are you doing today? Did she take the photo yet, do you think? Does it look good? Is it blurry? Okay, now Tony's taking one, so now I'm really feeling creeped out. I know it is. This is the part when you're self-employed and you don't have like a PR marketing team. Yeah, and if you're in witness protection, turn away. Right? How'd we do? Yeah? Okay, so can you, oh, wait. So there's that. So that's my email address, paul@mnheadhunter.com if you got questions, thoughts, comments. If you're going to be at Mini WebCon by any chance on Monday, I'm going to do a much more structured, much less cussing. We're not going to butter anybody up that day because that'll be weird. Mini WebCon's on Monday. I usually go to JavaScript, Ruby developer meetups. If you haven't been to one, you want to know where to go to tech.mn. They've got a calendar that's really solid, by the way. I hope that helps, you guys. Thanks.